Last week, our two upper finalists were M2KC and The Move. This week, both of those teams have been eliminated before the top three. Now we're left with our remaining top three. That's going to be Cloud9, The Boys, and Method Orange here, playing it out for those remaining points and for the title, of course. All three of these teams are not safe for the summer finals, though for BlizzCon standings, this is actually the top three in perfect order. You have Cloud9, who have already qualified, The Boys currently sitting healthy, and then Method Orange kind of hoping that The Boys are successful at the summer finals, because that would guarantee them qualification to BlizzCon.
Well, yeah, or if they had a good run at summer finals as well, of course. Yeah, so top three in the standings, top three left in the tournament, and the stakes are super high. We were talking about the three-way tie for first place, and some of those teams, they've already been knocked out, so this is a great opportunity for Method Orange to really come back. But of course, right now, our focus is on Cloud9 versus The Boys, and we're gonna see Cloud9 on that Rogue Mage Druid, which is exactly what we want to be seeing.
Yep, I feel like this is deja vu, right, Zika? We just saw this, I believe. Slightly different teams, though.
I feel like this is a matchup that we have seen a couple of times throughout the weekend, but let's see how it goes, because it's definitely been going both ways, and not a super one-sided matchup, I would say. And, Wealthy Man, he's gonna be having a very, very defensive job. His job is basically to bully Chun-Li, use his shimmers to move back, use his Novas on Chun-Li's rolls, on his Flying Serpent kick, on that Windwalker mobility, so that he won't take too much damage. Every time Chun-Li manages to connect and summon those images like he is doing right now and channel out a Fist of Fury, that's when we're going to be seeing Wealthy Man really take a lot of damage, and that's going to be taxing on Cubs' mana.
Yep, of course, we did just see Jelly Beans on the Mage and Absterge on the Druid. Now it's going to be the Cubsy Wealthy Man variant coming in here with Snuts to back them up on this Rogue. We'll have to see how it plays out. So far, certainly a lot slower paced than what we saw in our last series between Method Orange and The Move here. We have to see, neither of these teams really wants to commit. Wealthy Man is doing a very good job of using those blizzards, using those snares and slows and roots on the Frost Mage to kite away from Chun-Li. He does seem to be the primary target right now. They're actually swapping a little bit of damage over onto Snuts simply because that was the only target they could hit in that situation. Gorecki sitting in the back lines. Looks like he's just kind of looking for re-stealths, keeping his mana high whenever he gets the opportunity. Snuts going to go for a distract there, and Frozen Orb coming out as well. They really want to stop these early drinks.
Yeah, I feel like the Frozen Orb was a little bit much there, and Gorecki is actually playing the renewal here, so Gorecki is very well aware of the fact that he could be a target. I'm not really sure, though, if I agree with that. I think the best target is going to be Chun-Li, and then, of course, Smexin as well. And as long as you have Cubsy kind of shut down a lot of those drinks, then eventually you should be able to get into that position where you can start focusing Smexin on that DK and take him down. So far, though, beautiful Nova there from Wealthy Man, making sure that Chun-Li can't connect too much. Now a kidney shot, but Gorecki is going to be responding to that with the Iron Bark.
Yep, he does do a good job there with the Iron Bark. Doesn't look like too much damage is coming in. Actually, I feel like this Restoration Druid healing nerf does hurt the Rogue Mage in some of these matchups a little bit more. We can see earlier pressure than we would normally be used to in the last patch. Of course, Resto Druids did get a 10% overall healing nerf, but I mean, at the same time, in the same breath, Restoration Druids have been very strong today. We've seen them dominating Europe, now in North America, upper bracket finals. It's Cubsy versus Gorecki once again. Chun-Li taking a little bit of damage. Gorecki traded his Trinket for Blind. Potentially an opportunity here. If they could get the Touch of Karma, that's a really good low Cyclone coming in from Cubsy. Where's the follow-up? Snuts actually uses his Vanish aggressively here, but Gorecki does a really good job of mitigating that. Now a kidney shot, but Wealthy Man's nowhere to be seen. Looks like they're just trying to create opportunities, but Gorecki reads it well, doesn't trade out his Bark Skin, and should have defensives to answer.
Yeah, and I think Snuts is trying to shut down the drinks a little bit, cause a little bit of split pressure here. But on the flip side, Chun-Li activating his Touch of Death, getting a lot of pressure here. I'm not sure how much I like this. I think Snuts should just try to stick onto Chun-Li and have Cubsy be the one who shuts down the drinks. You can combo that with, a couple of distracts, and then you should be able to shut a lot of those drink attempts down. But Gorecki being very, very annoying here, using his Innovate, using his Iron Bark, throwing out every single healing over time effect that he can afford to, to, and then immediately looking for drinks. And it's very annoying to play against. And now Chun-Li is going to be connecting here over onto Wealthy Man, gets a full Fist of Fury, and that's what we're talking about. That's the situation you want to be avoiding as a Frost Mage. You don't want Chun-Li to be able to connect like that with his images and force out those early cooldowns. That's his biggest burst. And now Snuts looking for Gorecki to stop that drink again. I really want to see Cubsy be the one who does that.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great situation. Since Snuts has to spend so much time goalkeeping, keeping Gorecki from drinking, like it's his distraction the entire time. It basically means that he doesn't have the Mortal Strike up on the melees. They're able to heal themselves far more. It's just so difficult for him to have uptime. And ultimately, in the early stages of dampening, no one's going to get a kill. It's a question of how much mana can they burn down from Cubsy and from Gorecki. Gorecki, without Cubsy irritating him, has just been able to reset his mana bar over and over and over. He can rely on his melees to heal themselves up, essentially. Meanwhile, Cubsy hasn't had such a good opportunity. You know, he's got the diseases on him from Smexin. He's going to have to spend a lot of time out of combat to actually reset his mana bar. And I mean, if they can keep uptime, because Snuts doesn't have that counter pressure, it means the Wealthy Man is trading through ice blocks. You know, an early ice block already forced out before dampening even starts.
Yeah, and Wealthy Man again here. He uses Nova there without Chun-Li actually using any of his mobilities. Now Chun-Li is going to be able to use his Flying Serpent Kick, has to sheep him to try to avoid it, and he uses Shimmer there. We see a swap initiated here over onto Gorecki. Now that's another way to deal with this. I like this from Cloud9. They can just go after Gorecki and then have Cubsy drink at the very far back. Going to be resetting his mana bar completely here. No, actually gets stopped there, not able to actually get any mana here, and Gorecki is in a prime position here. Now Snuts, if he gets Chains of Ice by Smexin, it's going to be big trouble for him, because Gorecki is just going to be able to immediately run away once again. Wealthy Man actually faltering a little bit here to the pressure from the boys as we enter dampening. Cubsy actually halfway through his mana bar, but Gorecki not too much ahead.
Yeah, I feel like Cubsy is having to play the game very conservatively because he hasn't been able to get those drinks. He's playing, never really topping Wealthy Man off to the same degree that we normally see from Restoration Druids at least, and even so, he's still struggling with mana. He's looking for a drink, and this is exactly how Rogue Mage plays it. They go for a big offensive push here. They actually force two major cooldowns out, both the Iron Bark and now the Trinket on the blind as well. The Iron Bark, the Touch of Karma, and the Trinket. So this is a really good push, but it's not just about that. As we go into dampening, we like to do a thing called investing in the dampening, which is just a question of getting mana on the healer. Once again, though, Smexin was able to deny with those diseases. There's no removal for the diseases in the side of Cloud9, so those DKs are going to do a good job of keeping the enemy healer in combat. We see Ironbark coming in from Cubsy as once again he tries to sneak away, but Chun-Li's having none of it. Fist of Fury chases up, and even though a lot of cooldowns have been forced from the boys, I actually feel like this game's going really well for them. They had the mana lead going into dampening, which isn't normally something you'd see against Cloud9 because of those drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the boys are doing a great job right now, but Wealthy Man should be able to get a third ice block pretty easily into this game. So now we're going to see Cloud9 already looking for Smexin here. I'm not sure if it's too early in the game. We're going to have to see how that goes. It usually becomes a target. The DK usually becomes a target around 20-30% dampening here, but it's Cloud9 choosing to go after him immediately here. And the best way to stop the drinks is, of course, with the pressure. I want to see Wealthy Man and Snuts maybe go for just a regular polymorph onto one of the DPS and then just a kidney shot on the other one, and that way they can force Gorecki to either fall severely behind in terms of pressure, in terms of everything, and Cubsy can go for a drink of his own, or he's gonna be forced to stop his own drink. So we're gonna see if they can do that.
I think it's not just that as well, like it's crowd control too. Like compare the way Cloud9's playing the Rogue Mage Druid now to the way that, let's say, Diabolos or Method Black were playing it earlier in this exact matchup. They were pushing for crowd control. You know, you saw consistent Mighty Bashes coming over onto the Windwalker DK's healer, followed up with Sheeps, Rovs, Cyclones, Hibernates, all of these different crowd controls. And I mean, Cloud9 haven't been playing it like that. I'm not necessarily saying that how they're playing it is worse. They're just kind of going for a more do damage, don't die strategy, the Swapsy-esque strategy coming in from them. They are getting those little drink breaks when they can, and I mean, as we know, Zico, once we get to kind of 25-30% dampening, that's where these swaps to Smexin will come in. We see it now. The DK is an exposed weakness that Cloud9 are looking to capitalize on.
Yeah, absolutely, but Smexin still has all of his cooldowns available. Wealthy Man's Cold Snap is about to rotate up in 25 seconds, and Snuts actually using one kidney on Smexin and then one on Chun-Li, because the diminishing returns of the kidney shot is actually longer than the actual kidney shot itself, the cooldown of the kidney shot. So a little bit of min-maxing here from Snuts, just trying to burn as much mana as possible, kind of cleaving down both of these melees. But the problem is you're also maximizing both of their self-sustain when you're doing this strategy. So we're going to see if it backfires. Gorecki now getting blinded up, trinketing. Wealthy Man in a lot of trouble here as well. Has to activate his temporal shield, and Cubsy's mana is looking very, very taxed right now. He has to try to find a drink, but not going to be able to do so just yet. Gorecki already in a big mana lead still.
Yeah, this game is going to be ending very shortly here. 2 ice blocks are available on Wealthy Man, but he'll have to burn through those very quickly if Cubsy is unable to find a drink. He's looking for it right now. Once again, Smexin is the person to stop. Death and Decay denies. Chun-Li, though, he did trade out his Touch of Karma for Gorecki's drink earlier. Could be a scary situation. Good anti-magic zone. Smexin has been a consistent performer on this Death Knight, that gnome little Death Knight running around the map, causing so many issues for Cloud9. Now Gorecki tastes blood in the water. He realizes that his team is in the lead. He denies the drink himself, enabling his DPS to stay aggressive and potentially force another ice block on Wealthy Man.
Yeah, and that's nice. Now Gorecki realizes he can't just sit back. They have the lead. He needs to be there, helping his team to shut down some of these drinks. And honestly, Cubsy is not going to be able to hold his mana back for too long. Chun-Li porting away to safety, getting topped off with that Iron Bark. Now back into the fray, catching a Cyclone here. And Snuts looking for blood onto Smexin. See if he can get a kidney shot there. How is Smexin going to respond here? He's going to be able to just sit through it. Gorecki being able to heal through it with that Innovate, free healing. And we see Cubsy as well activating his Innovate on the flip side. But Touch of Death is rolling. No Iron Bark for 5 seconds. It's going to tick. It's going to do massive damage here. Unless the Wealthy Man can do something, he's not going to be able to do too much about it, but he should be fine for now.
Yeah, and Gorecki read the situation perfectly. It was Touch of Death. His team was offensive, therefore he drinks. Once again, I wouldn't have actually minded if Wealthy Man had maybe just traded out an ice block for mana efficiency at 33% dampening, but ultimately maybe this is just going to go in their favor anyway. Smexin now, his self-healing's doing so little. They swap some damage over onto Snuts. The Gladiator Safeguard going to keep him in the fight. Cubsy is, I mean, he's waning on mana. He's running out of resources to keep his team alive. Snuts is on the run. He can't stay in the fight. If he can't stay in the fight, they will not kill Smexin. Now Chun-Li is looking to put the finishing blow here on Cloud9 in game 1. Evasion, the last line of defense here. Disarm comes in, no damage on Smexin. Should be able to keep himself alive. As you said, Zico, he still has his entire defensive arsenal. This is looking absolutely great for the boys.
Defensive blind onto Chun-Li. Nice sap there over onto Gorecki by Snuts. This is going to allow Cubsy to get the drink. Did that Death and Decay miss? I think it did. Cubsy coming back with 50% mana, and Cloud9 are still in this game. Both ice blocks available, but Snuts very, very low on defense, and now Smexin as well in big, big trouble. 40% dampening here. What is he going to do, Healing Stat?
From Playmaker to Playmaker, we just saw Peekaboo. Now we get to see a flavor of Snuts. Beautiful sap, enabling Cubsy to keep his team in the fight. 30% mana or so, 40% dampening. I'm getting a bit scared for my 47% dampening in game 1 here between Cloud9 and the boys. It still could end very soon, though. We've got a minute on 47%, so I'm not too worried right now. Gorecki low on mana. Cubsy's had to burn through a fair few of the mana pots that he got back in this situation. Smexin's just taking so much damage. Beautiful low Cyclone, denying the Iron Bark from Gorecki. Very nice play from Cubsy. This is where they need to be clean with their offense. 42% dampening is where the damage will really matter here in this series.
Yeah, and Cubsy now activating that Iron Bark over onto Snuts. He should be fine for now. He also has his Feint available, but the Touch of Death is rolling with the Fortifying Brew. We saw how that went for Jelly Beans in the previous game, but Smexin now caught up in a kidney shot. Snuts is going to go down, perhaps. Maybe Smexin, it's a race to the finish. Smoke gets dropped, and Snuts claims the kill. Cloud9 wins game number 1 against the boys.
Cloud9 wins game 1, but what a game 1. So close, down to the wire, quite frankly, between the two teams. It looked like Snuts might fall. Good swap from Chun-Li, but it does seem like even though the strategy isn't flashy, they didn't go for any crowd control for the first 7 minutes of the game. The Death Knight is a vulnerability and late dampening, and if they can just turtle to that point, it does seem like they'll win.
I mean, if there's one thing Frost Mage Restoration Druid is good at, it's turtling. I mean, this is a strategy we've seen implemented by a lot of these teams. If they can live long enough, if they can make it to the late game, that 40% dampening mark, all of a sudden, all the self-healing that makes Death Knight so strong is limited by so much, and it just becomes such a vulnerability for the team of the boys, like we've seen time and time again in the past. But the boys, to their credit, they managed to find a lot of moments of opportunity. I mean, Snuts barely held on in the final moments of that game. It just felt like that one moment where Snuts was able to get that Vanish sap when he was 5% health on a Gorecki, and Cubsy was able to sit down to recover around 50% of his mana. that was the moment, that was a defining moment in the game where all of a sudden, Cloud9, they were looking good. They got enough mana to hold on. If that didn't happen, I feel like that would have been a point in favor of the boys.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And sometimes these games, you know, it doesn't necessarily look the most flashy, but it is one play that comes in from one of the players to break it down and get that one. Sid, what happened at the final moments of this game?
This game came down absolutely to the wire. Obviously, Cubsy being able to drink was the only reason that Cloud9 could sustain this long into the game. At this point, Cubsy would have had absolutely zero mana. They pressured Smexen down heavily, and it just became a certain point where he was like, okay, it's do or die. My healer has no mana. I have to push forward with what I've got. He uses his stun aggressively. They coordinate it with Chun-Li's leg sweep. Cubsy uses Iron Bark, but at dampening marking 43%. Iron Bark isn't going to be really doing too much. We see Smexen go all out. Perhaps he could have used the anti-magic zone a bit prematurely to this damage. He does use it preemptive on the stun, but I feel like it could have been a little bit sooner. Every single point of damage mattered towards the final seconds of this game. If he had been able to drop that with a little more anticipation, perhaps he could have reduced enough damage to where Snuts went down first. So it was very close nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like so difficult, right? You've got to make every single move precisely right. And I think this is one of the things that we talked about. I think you actually mentioned it a little bit earlier, Venruki, that this is why the Rogue Mage is so good. Because in the past, it won with crowd control, or you could win with burst damage. There was like those two win conditions were always on the table. But now Zico, they can also actually just win in dampening as well, which means there's no pressure on the Rogue Mage to push for crowd control and expose themselves to unnecessary damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every single time you push in, you use your shimmers offensively, well, that's more uptime for the melees. Every time your druid pushes in to get the bash, he might get bashed, he might get gripped and, you know, swapped to in a leg sweep, and that's going to cost a lot of mana. And then, you know, in dampening, when the mana really matters a lot, you're not going to have it. So definitely very high risk and kind of low reward, because a lot of the times, even if you do land these CC chains, you're not going to be able to kill because there's so much self-healing on a lot of these hybrid kind of new age melees, like we refer to them. You know, things like Windwalker, they can definitely keep themselves alive for a long time. Same thing goes for DKs, honestly.
All right, well, we are heading into game 2 here. Of course, this is upper bracket, so the loser will drop down to play against Method Orange. Cloud9 took the advantage, but the boys bring it to a smaller map.
What I think is so interesting about this week in particular was during last week's Cups, it was a discipline-free Shaman that won in Europe, and it was a Paladin that won in North America. Restoration Druids received a nerf, a 10% healing nerf, but in North, and we were kind of wondering, is that where we really see Restoration Druids fall off? But nope. Top 3 of Europe, all Restoration Druids. Top 3, North America, all Restoration Druids. It seems like the class is still really strong, especially with these compositions. They've been able to heal till, you know, still 45% dampening or higher. It just really shows you how strong this class is. Chun-Li right now with his touch of death, looking to get aggressive onto Wealthy Man. The smaller map is going to make it much more difficult for Cubsy to hold on to that mana, and that was the main win condition. I feel like this game ultimately will go on to a little bit later, especially with how Cloud9 is playing it, although they are making an all-in attempt onto Gorecki, and maybe they do change up their strategy. And on the smaller map, I could easily see Snuts just sitting on Gorecki. Instead of trying to stall it out to the late game, they just sit on Gorecki, control Smexen, control Chun-Li. We know Cubsy and Wealthy Man, they have insane Druid Mage synergy. They might be able to just train down this Resto Druid, Sid.
Smexen already got Cubsy's Glaire's Medallion with a stolen polymorph from Wealthy Man. Perhaps the Dark Simulacrum can be a way for the boys to close out game 2 here on Hook Point. Cloud9 looking to take advantage of the close quarters by going after the enemy healer. Chun-Li, though, is backing Gorecki up. Snuts has to make a careful decision as to when to overextend, instead switching targets. He's stealing a play out of Peekaboo's book with that Shadow Step kick. Bash out of the kidney shot. Great pressure on Chun-Li during that assault. Beautiful Cyclone at low health. This is exactly the type of coordination we want to see from Cloud9's Rogue Mage.
Yep, Cubsy in a bash. Snuts in a Cyclone. Good control coming in from Gorecki. Chun-Li now, he's very exposed. He doesn't have the touch of Karma. Fortunately, does have his Relentless. There's an opening here for Cloud9. They could go after him. Let's see if they can do it. Cubsy positioned very far away once again. Smexen and Chun-Li, they're all over Wealthy Man. Cubsy trying to sit down for a drink. Is he getting it? Is he sitting down and drinking it full? Unfortunately, not able to. Good denial there by Smexen. And the boys, they have to watch Cubsy. They have to look out for him the entire game. If they can keep him in combat, if they can deny him sitting down for the drink, they will inevitably have a mana advantage.
Yeah, they will inevitably have a mana advantage. here on Hook Point, it's going to be very difficult for Cubsy to drink, but he's doing a good job maintaining his mana even without drinking. 2.5 minutes into this match. Where are the advantages? Right now, slight cooldown lead for Cloud9, slight mana lead for Cloud9. That's definitely not where you want to be as the boys. This was their map pick. On the smaller map, they are supposed to be burning down Cubsy's mana at a faster rate and pushing cooldowns at a faster rate, so this is not looking good for the boys. Europe was all about who could stop Rogue Mage or who could play Rogue Mage the best. It looks to be the same here in North America. However, of the 3 remaining teams, 2 of them, the boys and Method Orange, primarily focusing on the Windwalker Death Knights and likely don't have Rogue Mage as an option unless they really get desperate. I mean, Trill could come out on a Rogue if it was absolutely necessary and they wanted to try and mirror Cloud9. Cloud9 with a bit more experience on the composition. Of course, Cubsy and Wealthy Man with a lot of synergy, but it's not, perhaps not so much. He's been kind of riding the bench. He's coming in and he's playing solid, but can he play to that of Method Black's level? I mean, I'm speaking more into the future. If the Rogue Mage meta remains for the rest of the summer season, it's going to be all about who can play Rogue Mage Druid the best or who finds the counter to it. I'm almost wondering if we should start theory crafting potential counters, because in the Rogue Mage mirror, it used to be that Discipline Priest, Subtlety Frost was one of the best versions of it. It could beat almost every other. We haven't seen any Rogue Mage Priest really attempted in the matchup. We haven't seen any real Rogue Mage Paladin either, although we were saying, I believe in the last couple, we were saying Rogue Mage Paladin beats Rogue Mage Druid, and we were pretty confident about it. I feel like that opinion changed this week, and maybe it's not so one-sided for the Rogue Mage Paladin to win, but what comp do you think can beat the Rogue Mage Druid aside from itself, Ben?
I don't know.
that sounds like one of my questions.
That's a really good question. Yeah, you guys asked me the worst question.
Just say Boomkin Affliction Holy Priest.
Yeah, to give you a Sid comp. Yeah, I think it's a Marks Hunter Enhancement Shaman.
What if it is a Marks Hunter?
Okay.
Marks Hunter Subtlety.
Yeah, I'll give you a spoiler alert. It's not a Marks Hunter, okay? I don't know what composition beats Rogue Mage Druid. It just seems like, I mean, in the past I would have said Rogue Mage Paladin for sure, but it does feel like Rogue Mage Druid does have win conditions against that composition. Maybe Rogue Mage Priest?
We haven't seen anyone try it.
No?
Yeah.
Zico's nodding his head saying absolutely no way it's Rogue Mage Priest, but...
We thought it was jungle, but after watching Endlight get taken out this cup, I don't really feel like it's even jungle either.
What beats it?
Maybe Windwalker Death Knight on a good day? And the Rogue Mage is having a really bad day?
I mean,
they forgot to shower.
I mean, from what we've seen, it's not a one-sided matchup. I mean, Windwalker DK and compositions like DK Warrior, it seems like DK compositions can win. It's the DK DH, the DK Windwalker, the DK Warrior.
I don't know about the DH anymore. I feel like Demon Hunters fell off now with the new mana.
Yeah, maybe, but I just mean in general, it's been those cleave compositions with the DK that stand the best chance against the Rogue Mage Druid, but it's no longer like a counter. I mean, in the past, you saw Demon Hunter Death Knight, it would always beat Rogue Mage Druid, and the Rogue Mage Druid literally fell off because of that one composition. Once Demon Hunters weren't, as popular, Rogue Mage Druid just came back stronger than ever. They figured out Feral Affinity. They could just go after any healer they wanted to. And this composition is just, it's so strong, just so durable. The Frost Mage, so much survivability, so much control, good burst damage. The Assassination Rogue, I feel like it's just such a well-rounded class. It's got good control, good lockdown, good damage. And then, of course, backing that up, the Restoration Druid, just really, really strong. The boys, they got their work cut out for them. The first game was really close. I mean, in this match, it seems like Gorecki's got a massive mana lead over Cubsy. I don't know if Cubsy's going to be able to sneak away for a drink. Somehow the Cloud9 always figures it out, though. Cubsy rarely gets denied on a drink the entire game. They always somehow set up a condition where he can get out of combat and recover some of that mana. We'll have to see. The last game, I think it ended at around 42% dampening, where Smexon finally went down. It might have been a little bit higher than that. I'll have to see if they decide to switch over to Smexon again in this game and at what point in the match.
Yeah, wait and see here. Cloud9 are playing very similarly to Diabolus. Weltman low, finally an Ice Block Force. This is getting to the sweet spot where the boys need to kill Wealthy Man before dampening is too high and Smexon falls. They net one Ice Block just in time to meet the mark. Can they hit the grade? Cubsy positioned far away, looking to avoid any sort of grip stuns. Chun-Li's going to pop big damage here while Ultimate is on a hypothermia. Chun-Li looking to cut this game short. Fists of Fury getting maximum uptime. Temporal Shield soaks the hit. Ultimate going to be bouncing back to full health momentarily. And Cloud9 have switched gears. They are going after Smexen. This is a playstyle we've seen in the past. It's just avoid damage. Wealthy Man using Blizzard on himself to snare Chun-Li and Smexen, reset the Frozen Orb, maximize his damage. He doesn't go in for any crowd control on Koreki, just kite, avoid damage. Try to do as much as you can while doing the dodging part as well, and get deep enough into dampening where your damage just completely outright destroys the Death Knight. This is the safe line. This is the safest, most guaranteed way to win in this matchup in my mind. They're not really taking any risks. Although Wealthy Man does sneak a polymorph, that could end the game a lot faster. Smexen stunned. Can they keep the crowd control going? Cubsy gets the Cyclone. Anti-Magic Zone is over, and Smexen is going to be going down. Cloud9 with clean play and 2-0 lead.
What a beautiful game. Once again, coming in from Cloud9, just control from start to finish. There was moments of opportunity where really the boys had a chance to win, but it just seems like the Rogue Mage Druid, it's really leveled up here for Cloud9, and just overall, I feel like they've been impressing us a lot. In the past, it was all about their Warlock Mage Restoration Druid, but now it just seems like this composition is something that they've really been working on, utilizing Snuts. He's come off the bench finally, and it's paying dividends for Cloud9.
Yeah, it was really well played there by Cloud9, obviously, with the Rogue Mage Druid. And it does seem like they find a way of just perfecting one composition or another. They're able to just pull through and find the victory here.
Yeah, really, really nicely done. Like, the first game was a little bit too close for comfort, but this time around, it was a lot cleaner here. You know, at the end, they actually pushed in and got some of that crowd control. And Koreki here, he had a big, big drink, but a little bit too greedy. And Smexen as well, way too greedy with that Icebound Fortitude. I mean, DKs are pretty hard to kill, but, I mean, let's be real here, Smexen. That's 2 polymorphs on your healer. And, you know, there is a nice little Dark Sim right there, but it's not going to be enough for you to shut down that attack, and Smexen's going to go down there due to the fact that Koreki fell behind because of that drink and then got crowd control. So nicely done by Cloud9 to capitalize on that and take us to match point.
Yep, Cloud9, very good performance here. 2-0 up in the series. They played the Mage Lock Druid throughout the second half of spring, at least. It saw them all the way through. Now they're playing the Rogue Mage Druid, and it's looking to do the same. 1 game away from the grand final. Well, composition swap, and again, a surprise coming in. It's Chun-Li on Cropley, the Hunter coming in for the boys. They're 2-0 down in the series. They might as well try something. The Hunter Death Knight, not a composition we've seen in quite a while.
I was asking you what comp beats Rogue Mage Druid, and I don't think anyone was going to say Hunter Death Knight. Maybe. The Survival Hunter brings in good counter cooldowns with the Roar Sacrifice to prevent crits, as well as the Mending Bandage to remove the bleeds of the Assassination Rogue. I could see maybe on paper this composition doing decently, but in reality, does it, is now the question.
I mean, we're living in reality, so we're gonna find out.
Are we?
I guess that's a question for another time. That's too deep right now. Kidney shot onto Chun-Li. This is a comp, like we said, we haven't seen in quite some time. Koreki trinkets out of the blind. Chun-Li looks to be the main target in this match, but the Assassination Rogue actually, I feel like, gets soft countered in a way by the Hunter. The fact that he can use the Mending Bandage. However, he's not going to be able to use that Mending Bandage if he isn't a kidney shot. So if Chun-Li gets caught into a stun, it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to actually get that off and use that. And I think Cloud9 have sort of realized that. They're just going to be going after Chun-Li. The one unfortunate thing about the Hunter is you don't have the same self-healing as a Death Knight, as a Windwalker Monk, and it's very scary.
Oh, your self-healing is a 2-minute cooldown on that Exhilaration. Not going to be the most potent comparatively to that of the Windwalker Death Knight. Mage and Rogue as well with the Crimson Vial and the Ice Barrier. Generally going to be the primary focus. You also lose all that utility, not able to use Mending Bandage when you're stunned. So big damage here on Chun-Li. Aspect of the Turtle on very low health. We haven't really seen any momentum from them with this Hunter Death Knight composition. This is just desperate. They're reaching. They're trying. I actually kind of appreciate that they're trying something, because the Windwalker Death Knight was looking so one-sided. We've already seen in Europe that it was getting dominated. So I appreciate the boys breaking out a new composition and trying to make it work, but they are basically out of cooldowns, and I think they're out of time. The damage here is overwhelming. Koreki can't handle it. Chun-Li's on the run. Snuts in hot pursuit. Big flurry connects Chun-Li. Cyclone at a sliver of a health. He does trinket out of the Cyclone. Connects one heal. Mending Bandage. Master's Call. good evasive maneuvers from Chun-Li. You can tell that all the time he spent on Windwalker is paying off for his Hunter.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it'll work, though. There's a bash on Gorecki. Can Wealthy Man follow it up with any sort of crowd control? Doesn't look like it just yet. He was in bear form. There's no Ring of Frost available. Wealthy Man's just going to continue the offensive push. Chun-Li's just been on the back foot for so much of this game. There's a full kidney shot. Can they take him down? Right now, Gorecki's just burning through his mana so quickly in this match. Chun-Li still trying to run, still trying to hide. Smexen on a solo mission. Chun-Li hasn't been able to really get out too much damage. They're going after Snuts, a big all-in attempt. But he's got the evasion, he has Feign, he has Cloak of Shadows. I think Snuts should be able to survive this. And keep in mind, Chun-Li, there's no aspect of the turtle for another minute and 40 seconds. There's no exhilaration for another minute. It's going to be a long time before he has any defensive cooldowns where he can actually keep himself alive. One good crowd control chain on Gorecki will close out the game.
All right, Cloud9, you're on match point. You've made the boys desperate. They're just trying to pull anything out of their hat to find a trick that will be able to get a victory against Cloud9. Cyclone landed on a Cubsy. Good opportunity to maybe get a block. Not able to connect. Smexen Frostnova just inches away from Wealthy Man. Chun-Li has to run. He's stunned up at the pillar. Gorecki Trinket's blind, realizing this situation's quite dire, but now doesn't have Trinket for crowd control later on. I am wondering if this Death Knight Hunter comp can do enough damage to run Cubsy out of mana. We see the Diamond Trap, the Diamond Lace Trap from Chun-Li, not running the 8-second trap. And the main reason he's doing that is because Death Knights have uncontrollable cleave damage. They just can't choose to stop doing AoE damage.
Can't help themselves.
They can't help it, so the Hunter needs to run that trap so it doesn't break to that spread pressure, but they lose 4 seconds of the freezing trap's arm time and that crowd control. And because the trap is such a short duration, I don't know if they can win using it on Cubsy. I actually almost wonder if they should target Cubsy and use the freezing trap on another target and crowd control the DPS.
Chun-Li still in trouble. Kidney shot comes in. He has to trinket out. Now, Chun-Li, no trinket. Gorecki, no trinket. This is the win condition that Cloud9 has. Full Cyclone onto Chun-Li. He's frozen in place. Do they have crowd control on Gorecki? What do they have? Bash on Snuts. Good job. Good defensive positioning here by the boys in order to stay in the fight. Smexen's still on a solo mission, but he's just getting no damage out. Wealthy Man's just completely healthy. Cubsy easily healing through the damage. I think he went and sat down for a drink. Bash on Gorecki. Complete control from Cloud9. Chun-Li could easily fall. Aspect of the Turtle is available. Anti-Magic Zone trades out with the Gladiator Safeguard. Chun-Li wants to hold on to the Aspect of the Turtle as long as humanly possible. But look, Gorecki's in a polymorph. There's a follow-up polymorph available. Chun-Li's running. He's hiding, mending bandage on himself. He does ultimately survive, but at the cost of essentially everything.
Yeah, once again, the boys, they're backed against a corner here. Can they pull off a victory? They stun Snuts. He's overextended. Cubsy's interrupted. Big swing of damage there on Snuts, showing at least some promise with that attack, but they don't get the kill. Chun-Li is stunned up, denying his coordinated assaults cooldown. Gorecki's trying to drink. Snuts is trying to find him. Can Gorecki escape Snuts and drink? Cubsy's moved over on one side as well. I don't think that Gorecki's going to be able to find any mana. Cycloned up now. Chun-Li's desperate. He's going to drop that trap on Snuts, try and slow down the pressure in the attack. Mending bandage to recover. I actually do think at some point Smexen should try attacking Cubsy and just allow Chun-Li to live as long as he can. Maybe he attacks during stuns and just use crowd control to stay alive. I'm wondering if that's the only option, because everything else has just not been working. I mean, we don't see any significant dents on Cloud9's defense at this point in time with 6% dampening kicked in. It's just a matter of time until Chun-Li goes down with this strategy.
I mean, we'll see. Maybe the boys can pull off a miracle. It's not over yet. It's not over till it's over. We'll have to see exactly what they can do. Full blind onto Gorecki right now. Snuts moves forward, gets the full kidney shot onto Chun-Li. They're trying to close it out. Gorecki had trinketed out of the blind. At some point, Cubsy has to push in. He needs to get a bash on Gorecki, and we need to see Wealthy Man follow it up. But Smexen's been denying a lot of that crowd control. Massive damage going out onto Chun-Li. Gorecki really struggling to deal with this pressure. Chun-Li does get the stun onto Snuts to slow down some of the damage. He's still crossing the map. He's trying to escape. Gorecki gets on top of him once again, managing to top him off, but just a situation where Chun-Li is just barely holding on consistently over and over. The boys, like you said, they're backed into a corner at this point. What can they really do?
I mean, what can they do? That's really the question. They're pulling this Hunter Death Knight composition out of nowhere to try and get a victory, but I don't really think it's working out. Gorecki, Cyclone, Chun-Li, he's got Exhilaration. Surprised to not see him pop it. He's cheap shot for 1 second. Does manage to connect it. Iron Bark as well. Chun-Li will be stable. And, I mean, it's better than nothing, but they have no offense. I mean, they're alive, but that's it. They're not showing any sorts of signs of progress in terms of whittling down Cloud9. Here, finally, some damage from Smexon on Wealthy Man, but Temporal Shield is just soaking it all. He's going to heal back to full, likely. It's Chun-Li in a stun. Anti-Magic Zone, I don't even think that's going to be enough. Snuts is just hammering through. He traps him on 1%. Feign Death to try and avoid a little bit of damage, but ultimately gets taken out. And Cloud9's Rogue Mage Druid is going to get a clean 3-0 against the boys. And now we got a rematch in the lower bracket.
Yep, we do have a rematch. The boys will go up once again against Method Orange. As you correctly pointed out, Sid, that matchup happened yesterday, and the boys did come out on top. Though in this game, I've got to say, this is really showing that the Rogue Mage Druid is super strong, because the boys last week, they almost managed to pull through here, but Cloud9 just looked like another team this week.
Yeah, they look really good, and I have a feeling that it's going to be Rogue Mage Druid wins in Europe and Rogue Mage Druid wins in North America. I'm not sure what composition.
Changing our predictions again, huh?
Well, I mean, I have eyes, man. I see what's going on in the game, okay? Yeah, I mean, at this point, Cloud9, they've managed to convert me into believing their Rogue Mage Druid. I mean, I really shouldn't have counted them out. They did look a little sloppy on it, you know, weeks in the past, but now it looks like that has been their main focus. They're looking as good as any team I've seen, and the boys, I don't really know what they could have done in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little oddball composition, but honestly, there was no signs of win conditions on the side of the boys, except for maybe Gorecki having an insane performance, getting, you know, the perfect cyclones, because, I mean, look at Snuts. He has his defenses pretty much the entirety of the game, and he's the only kill opportunity for the boys. Mana is in favor of Cloud9. Cooldowns, dampening, everything is in favor of Cloud9. And like you guys already mentioned, with the diamond eyes as well, you don't have a long enough CC chain to really make the Hunter DK work. And if you have a big map, then at least you can prevent the DK from getting too close and spreading his diseases over to the healer that you're trying to CC. But on a small map like Dalaran, I mean, you're just not going to have a long CC at all. You can't, like, I just don't see what the plan was here.
I feel like in previous expansions, for some reason in my mind, I'm picturing Hunter Fury Warrior in the past, although that was a much more burstier time, but that comp was giving at least Rogue Mage a little bit of trouble. That's something the boys have. Smexon's a warrior. I mean, you're smirking.
When was that?
I'm not
I feel like it's
smirking.
Warlords of Draenor was the...
Arms KFC
or even
has
Miss of
been good in the
Pandaria.
past, but
I remember in Warlords it was Turbo and RMD.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think back in MOP, KFC had a win condition, but it was like Pally KFC, and I want to say...
Yeah, but at this point, what else do you play if you can't play Rogue Mage yourself? I feel like I'm just throwing stuff out there.
No, I think it's fair. That's kind of
seen.
what the boys did here, right? They did play the DK Hunter, and I think the DK Hunter is just as valid, if not more valid, than the Fury, just because DKs are so strong as well. But let's have a look at the bracket, guys. We do have the grand finalists, the first one locked in, Cloud9, with a dominating 3-0. The boys will go up against Method Orange, but before we get into that, I do want to ask Zico one more question, because we were quite critical of the Rogue Mage from Cloud9 last week. I think it's fair to say they didn't impress us as much as we would like, considering that they're essentially the #1 team in the world off of the spring finals. Now that they've put another week into the practice, how was that for you? Do you feel like they had kind of cracked it down to the point where you would rank them in terms of the European RMDs that have been playing it much longer?
Well, I'm going to be honest. There's a reason why I predicted that Cloud9 was going to win, and that was that I knew Cloud9 for sure has been paying attention to what's going on in Europe with all the different Rogue Mage teams being so successful, and that combined with the fact that their Mage Lock Druid is starting to crack, I felt like it only makes sense that they're going to be practicing this composition a lot. And last week, they didn't look that great on it, but I knew they're going to be putting in the effort. They have the individual talent to be just as good as anybody else, so I wasn't really worried about that at all. I figured Cloud9 is just going to be practicing it, and they're going to be able to perform here today on Championship Sunday when it really matters.